So we're here with Box Brown, the author of the lovely Tetris comic graphic novel. First of all, why choose Tetris as a subject?
So I like to kind of view, like, with the Andre the Giant book that I did, I used Andre kind of as a lens to talk about pro wrestling as an art form. And Tetris, to me, is like one of the most iconic video games, right? Like Andre was. So I kind of think of that as the lens to view gaming and how gaming affects society. But also, the story of Tetris is really compelling and took place at a really interesting time in history where, the end of communism was just about to happen, and the game came out right before it and then got marketed right after it, and the creator did not receive money during the biggest boom of it. It all went to the government. So, so there's a lot of... It's a very interesting story, and I only knew a little bit about it when I started, and the research was interesting too. That's always a very interesting part. That's why I do this stuff, really. I like to teach myself things, and it's an amazing story.
Cool. I mean, Tetris is a very iconic graphically. It's very simple, but it's also everyone knows how it looks. How did you go about implementing that for the graphical novel?
So it was weird because, before I started working on Tetris, I had started trying this new drawing style using rulers all the time. So it's all straight lines up and down and blocks. And then when I got to doing Tetris, I was like, wow, this is perfect, really. But after I finished Tetris, I kept thinking, I should have made pages that looked, or the panels looked like the pieces, but I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been hard to maintain all the way through the book. But I think it was just because I have a geometric style, I kind of fit the book a little bit, and I was very interested and saw it as a challenge, but a satisfying challenge to take complicated information and kind of put it into a pleasing looking diagram and make it flow and simplify it as best I could.
Cool. I just want to ask you something about one of my favorite books for a couple of years ago, the Under the Giant that you did. I love the fact that you didn't you didn't back off. He did some stuff that could be seen as not very kind and stuff like that, but you kept true to the story. How much did you know about Under the Giant before you did the book? I
had seen a documentary about him and the A&E biography of Andre the Giant, and I didn't do those things to shame him or anything like that. I wanted to make sure people knew he was a human being, and in his life, I think a lot of people didn't view him that way. They see him as this big something else, and I think that he really just wanted to be treated like one of us, you know what I mean? And also the other thing about him is that he's such a big, strong guy that it was hard for people to realize, and I don't think many people do realize, that he was actually disabled. And he had trouble riding in a car, moving from here to there, getting clothes that fit him, and all stuff like that. And so I wanted to talk about his struggles, really, and not just his glory. But you wouldn't have all that glory without the struggle. You know what I mean? So that's why I kept that stuff in there.
Yeah. My favorite moment in the book and in his life is when he puts his hand over the head of Robin Wright at that time. Yeah. I think that's a very perfect image of a very gentle, caring giant. Yeah. Do you have any kind of moment for that for him yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Princess Bride scenes for me, I didn't want to do too much on the Princess Bride, so I kept it short, but one of the things I loved about Princess Bride is when that part of the story is when him and Mandy Patinkin are sitting on the set together, and Mandy asks him how he likes being a movie star, and how he likes being on the set. And the thing he liked about it was that nobody stared at him like he was somebody else when he was on the set. He was a piece of the puzzle and making this whole thing work, and everybody treated him like a normal person there. And he thought of that movie as like the pinnacle of his career. Not all the stuff he did in wrestling, but this, because it was to the whole world, you know, and it showed off his other skills, and he's beloved in many ways, I think, because of that movie. I mean, I think a lot of people only remember him from that. And I actually got to meet with Andre's nephew about 6 months ago, maybe a year, and he was really sweet and nice, and he told me all these stories about Andre, and he was very well liked, very well loved by his family, and he was just a really cool guy. I would have loved to have met him, you know.
Yeah, me too. Well, so iconic wrestler, iconic video game. What's the next iconic game thing for Box Brown?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I actually can't talk about it yet.
Okay.
But
something is coming?
Yes, I actually finished the first draft about 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to be working on editorial the next month or two, and it has pro wrestling in it again. That's my little clue.
Okay, cool. When can we know about it, and where can we find you online and stuff like that, for people to find the book and stuff?
Oh, sure. So I'm not sure when it'll come out. They'll probably do an announcement soon. But you can find me at boxbrown.com, and on Twitter at boxbrown, and Instagram boxbrown. All boxbrown.
And we highly recommend the book. So get it, and good luck in the future. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.